Arsene Wenger had that touch of and nothing James. I didn't know where he came from, but the quality, the kind of player he was on his day, he was unplayable in the world than the amount of time he played for Arsenal. Because I remember when he came to Arsenal as a winger, selling Alexander Song to Barcelona was one of the most scandalous, controversial. He didn't have a competitive team, but Jurgen Klopp took him and they won the Champions League. Since Thierry Henry left Arsenal, I don't think if you have ever found a clinical striker like Thierry Henry. Yes, so Arsenal was losing their best players, each and every. Majority of them wanted to win trophies. Everybody was not world class. They had to move into a new modern stadium. Hello guys, welcome to the football-MACE. Chef Bill Mkono. It's gonna be slippery just as usual. Today I'm going to talk about the most painful transfers of Arsenal players to other teams. I remember Arsenal didn't have the money to finance their new stadium, that is EMIRATES, back in 2000. So they had to find a way to finance the building of a new stadium, and EMIRATES came in and sponsored. I knew it will be painful, but it was worth it because everybody was not world class. They had to move into a new modern stadium. So Arsenal was losing their best players each and every season because they could not retain those players. Majority of them wanted to win trophies, major trophies. So and by then Arsenal wasn't competing, wasn't that competitive in the Champions League and the English Premier League. We were always fighting to be in the Champions League or to get a top 4 finish. So Arsenal struggled for a very long time because Arsene Wenger was trying to be patching up here and there, getting players from the academy, because Arsene Wenger had that touch of unearthing gems and great players and sporting youngsters. When Arsenal sold Thierry Henry to Barcelona, it was so painful. I remember that day when I got that breaking news. You know, back then there wasn't social media, or even if it was there, it wasn't that huge like now. So getting information wasn't that easy. That was the person who made me start supporting Arsenal. I couldn't imagine, it was unfathomable even to think that Thierry Henry has left Arsenal, the record goal scorer in Arsenal. So you can imagine, since Thierry Henry left Arsenal, I don't think if you have ever found a clinical striker like Thierry Henry. Yes, Robin van Persie, but he was not at the level of Thierry Henry. So he achieved whatever he wanted in another club. Another player that Arsenal sold and went ahead to win major trophies was Cesc Fabregas. He was sold also to Barcelona. He wanted to win major trophies and Arsenal wasn't at that level of competing for major titles. So he was sold to Barcelona after that World Cup of 2010 to win the La Liga there. Samir Nasri was our player maker, and I remember when he came to Arsenal, I'd never heard of him. I didn't know where he came from, but the quality, the kind of player he was on his day, he was unplayable. He was so clinical. He had that silky touch. He had so many trickeries that he could maneuver and get past 2 to 3 players and score an outrageous or a worldly goal. So Samir Nasri, I remember when that season started, he started when he was playing for Arsenal, but before the window shut, he had gone to Manchester City. They went ahead together with we sold so many players to Manchester City then, because Kolo Toure went to Manchester City, Gael Clichy went to Manchester City, and all of them won major trophies there. Moving forward, we sold Robin van Persie to Manchester United. So painful as an Arsenal fan watching that guy leave, because he was always in the world than the amount of time he played for Arsenal. Because I remember when he came to Arsenal as a winger, he couldn't play 10 or 5 consecutive matches without being injured. He could play around 5 matches and he goes almost 10 matches injured. So that the season that he stayed fit, he became the top scorer, but we didn't win anything. So even me, I would have moved forward to look for major titles. He went ahead to Manchester United and he helped Manchester United win their 20th English Premier League title. Another player that went ahead and won trophy, and it was so painful watching him leave, was Alex Chamberlain. He went to Liverpool. I remember there was so much instability in Arsenal because Unai Emery came, he went, he didn't have a competitive team, but Jurgen Klopp took him, and they won the Champions League and the Premier League with Liverpool. So that is something massive, and I've seen this trend continuing. I don't know the current squad that we have, who will be the next one, because yes, right now financially Arsenal is stable. Back in the days, Arsenal wasn't that stable financially, so they had to sell their great players each and every season. I remember there's another transfer that broke my heart also sometimes back. That was Ashley Cole going to Chelsea. He was the best. He was one of our own. He came from Highland Academy. He was a modern left back in the days. He used to attack and defend like it was not something new to him. It was not something that I'd seen other defenders doing, because he was so good going forward and was also so good defending. The likes of like Calafiori is not a left back, but he usually plays there. He likes to attack. He can score goals here and there. Ashley Cole was that type of a player, and I remember when they sold him to Chelsea, I felt so bad. I couldn't imagine watching him play in that Samsung jersey of Chelsea, and he went ahead and won the Champions League and the Premier League. So he achieved whatever he wanted. That was the Champions League there in Chelsea. Selling Alexander Song to Barcelona was one of the most scandalous, controversial, painful decisions that I've ever seen a player making, when he decided to go and play for Barcelona, when he knew very well the likes of the kind of players that Barcelona had then in that midfield, the likes of Xavi and Iniesta and Busquets. You can imagine a player going to compete with those players. There were threesome players. You couldn't bench either of them, so you are always on the bench. You will replace them maybe in the 70th minute. So you are not guaranteed of playing. And those were the days when Barcelona was Barcelona, the tiki-taka days of Barcelona. But Alexander Song decided to go and play play for Barcelona. He went there, and he was never the same again. Went there and became shambles of himself. And I wondered, like, how on earth can someone advise a player to go and sit on the bench, always on the bench, at that young age? And I remember watching him say that was one of the worst decisions he ever made in his career, going to play for Barcelona. But he wanted that because I remember when he was saying that he used to watch Thierry Henry coming with big cars at training ground. So he wanted also to live that kind of life. So I get it. As an African, I know how tough it is living in Africa. So you want to get this money quick and live a lavish lifestyle. So I can't blame him. Yes, he said he regretted moving to Barcelona. We have another player that also we sold to Barcelona, Alexander Leb. I remember Arsene Wenger signing him from Stuttgart. I was even wondering, who is this player? Like, I've never heard of him. I've never heard of any player called Alexander Leb. I'm like, who is this Alexander Leb? That player was a magician. And when he came to Arsenal, no one knew about him. Maybe Arsene Wenger and the recruiting team. But that guy was like, I've never seen a magician playing. I've never seen a complete winger like Alexander Leb, because he was playing with both feet. You couldn't know, is he left-footed or right-footed? He was comfortable playing with both feet. It was so painful watching him go to Barcelona, because I knew, who is he going to replace there in that team? Just like Lionel Messi, are you going to replace him? You can't. He plays 90 minutes or unless he's injured. So most of the time, you are always on the bench. And I remember also him saying he regrets going to Barcelona, but they bought him and they wasted his talent. Yes, he won trophies there, but he was always on the bench. when Arsenal sold Reyes to Real Madrid, it was also painful because Reyes was one of those players that you couldn't understand the kind of player he was. May his soul rest in peace. Could play as a striker, he could play as a right winger or a left winger, he could play either wing because he was so complete. He was versatile, he could play in the front three. So selling him to Real Madrid also came as a shocker because I don't know, I heard he was homesick, so he wanted to go back to Spain. He went ahead and achieved whatever he achieved there, and may his soul rest in peace. Another player that I was so heartened watching him go was Serge Gnabry. Serge Gnabry was playing for Arsenal, and I remember he went to very many loans, but he was never ever trusted by Arsene Wenger. So he told Arsene Wenger, if I'm not guaranteed playing in the first team, then it's better you sell me and I go. He was sold to Wolfsburg in Bundesliga. So he went there and he performed very well, and he was bought by Bayern Munich, and they have won several trophies there, the Bundesliga and the Champions League. So he achieved whatever he wanted there. That was very massive. So I've seen this trait continuing each and every time. I don't know, I have a feeling we are going to lose players in this current team right now. The kinds of Saliba, the kinds of Calafiori, Saka, Nwaneri. Convincing these players to sign new contract, it's going to be a hard task. I don't know how Arsenal is going to convince them, because if they don't go big in the summer, retaining these players is going to be a huge task for Arsenal and the board, convincing these players to stay in Arsenal for another year without winning any trophy, and age is catching up with them. Players like Odegaard, right now Madrid is there struggling with players in that area. They can call him back and buy him. Yes, I know it would be cheap, but majority of players I usually see, it's very difficult for them to turn down Real Madrid when they come knocking at their door. It is high time Arsenal, the Arsenal board, the Arsenal owners and Mikel Arteta wake up to the occasion and rise up to the occasion and try and go big in the summer. We get players, quality players that will help Arsenal, galvanize Arsenal to the first major trophy since 2004 season and 2003-2004 season. That was the last time we won the EPL. We have never won the Champions League. We want to win them. We want to win those major trophies. Let me know in the comment section which was the most painful transfer, watching that player leaving Arsenal. Let me know in the comment section which transfer was that. And thank you so much for watching the Football-MACE. Subscribe to my channel for more content like this and many more coming. Thank you so much for watching this. Muchas gracias, merci, asanteni sana. It's gonna be slippery just as usual.